video, I wanted to walk you through how to create a really unique rendering like the one that you see here. And so this rendering I found a long time ago, and I've always really been drawn to how dynamic it is, but also how easy it would be to create something simple like this in Photoshop. And so I'm going to just take a moment and deconstruct the process that you see here in case you ever want to create a rendering or sketched over rendering in the same style. So what you're looking at, there's essentially two layers happening here, although because I'm finding this as a PNG image, as you can see here, the layers themselves are no longer present, which means that the designer merged them before saving and uploading this image. But when the designer started to create this, there were two layers involved. The first one was a photograph. And the photograph is what you can see under here. That's this kind of gray and brown, natural earth-toned image back here. And this is actually a photograph of a model on top of a work surface, probably something that was used, in a drafting or architecture studio to start to simulate the massing that might happen for a building on a job site. And so what they did was they photographed this model on the desk just exactly to get this view. Then they printed this photograph out just probably on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper in color. And then what they did was overlaid a piece of tracing paper on top of the photograph that was printed out in front of them. And then they took their favorite pen. It was probably a black one, and traced over and added all of these sketches over top onto tracing paper to that photograph that was printed out in front of them. And so it might have taken a few tries to get, the perfect sketch, but that's the process that they followed. Again, being mindful of things like vanishing points so that this circle became an ellipse. They were thinking about sun paths and directions, getting their graphic style for these arrows just right, and just knowing exactly when to stop so that it stayed really loose and sketchy. And then what they did was they took the sketched tracing paper that they had created and they scanned that. They opened that scanned tracing paper as a layer and brought it on top of the layer that contained this photograph. Then what they did to the layer of tracing paper was they used their magic wand tool and they got rid of all of the parts that were kind of that light white transparent tracing paper that didn't have any drawings on top. And so they were left with basically this element, all the hand sketch elements. Now, at that point, it was still probably just black ink with a clear background. And then they went over to the layer tool with this layer selected. And they went to, let's see, maybe it's not layer, it's under adjustments. And then they went to this, they went to invert. And when they hit the invert button, all the black text turned to white. And so as a result, they had this beautiful photograph, a layer of tracing paper brought on top that then they manipulated to get rid of all of the unessential elements and overlaid it on top. So there's this combination of this beautiful sketch with these handmade models that looks really loose but conveys information in a very unique way.